In this pro video, we're going to touch on 3 topics that have been requested over the last few weeks, and it comes at a great time to complement our introduction videos that we've done. We're going to discuss static files, custom template filters, and finally management commands, all of which are good things to have a basic understanding of. Let's go ahead and take a look at static files. These are files such as JavaScript, CSS, and images that need to live somewhere and be served, but are never actually changed dynamically. Django handles these in a great way. There's a static files app, which provides some management ability beyond just telling the system where the files are located. The app allows you to extend the management ability in case you want to do some fun custom stuff with your static files. One common thing is to offload your static files to a CDN, and the static files application helps you do that. To get started with our static files, we have to make sure that the Django Contrib static files app is in our installed apps. We follow that up by adding a list of all the locations of our static files and where they could be. We do this in the static files _dirs setting, and we give it the location of our file system where they are. In this case, the static files will be in the static folder of the root of our project. You can also put static files in a static folder inside of your apps as well, much like you would with your templates. Also, if you look above where we added our static files dir setting, you'll see the static URL setting. This is signifying to Django that all URLs coming after /static should be served from our static files location and not from the application. Now that we have those settings done, we're ready to create our static folder and move a CSS file into it for us to use. In this case, we're going to use Bootstrap. Now let's move on to using our static files. In our template, we want to use the CSS file like normal, but just adding the basic file name of our CSS file doesn't work. If you remember the static URL setting from before, we need to echo that out to our template, and we should be good to go. As you can see, when we refresh the page in our browser, it updates to the new Bootstrap style. And if we go to a page with some forms, those are actually styled as well using the Bootstrap styles. The final thing we're going to talk about on static files is the collect static command. We use this to gather up all of our static files in one place for use when serving them. This is generally used in production so you can offload the serving of static files to your web server and not on your Django application. To set this up, we simply add the static _root setting to our settings file, and we give it a location on the file system with the specific folder name, in this case static _final. Once that's done, you simply run the collect static command on the command line, and it copies all of the static files into the static _final directory, and it's ready for your server to serve them up. In this case, what it's doing is it's copying all of the static files not only from your project, but from apps as well, into the static _final directory. Next up is custom filters. These are very useful when you're trying to modify parts of text that are displayed in templates. One we've used in this LAN party site is the filter for doing a date format. What we're going to do is write a custom filter for giving the proper currency to a number. The first thing we have to do is use a specific folder structure, because Django looks for custom template filters and custom template tags in a template tags folder inside of our apps. So we must create a template tags folder inside of our party app and then add a blank init file so our app can initialize it. Now let's actually create our filter. Whatever we name the Python file is the name that we're going to use to load our filters into our templates. So in this case, we're going to name our file currency.py. To start off, we need to import template so we can instantiate a library object to register a new filter. We're going to use register as a decorator, which will add the function we use the decorator on as a template filter. The simplicity of the function that we write is that we pass it a single value, and that is what we modify. And in our case, we're going to pass it a number, and we just need to return it back formatted how we want. And in this case, we're adding the $sign to the beginning of it and returning it. To start using the currency filter, we first have to load it by adding load currency to the top of our template, and it adds the filters in the currency.py file to our current instance of the template and lets us use the filters. To use the filter, we just add a pipe and then the name of the filter. And that's really all it takes. Now when we go to the QuakeCom page, we can see there's a fee of $8 and it has the correct currency on it. Moving on, let's take a look at our final subject, custom management commands. A management command is what we used earlier to do our collect static. You can write your own fairly simple if you follow a couple of conventions. To start, management commands have their own folder structure similar to filters. So we have to start off by creating a management folder with a folder called commands inside of it. Then in each of those folders we create an init file so Python knows to initialize all of them for us. Just like with our custom filter, the name of the file is what we're going to use later. In this case, whatever we name the file is what the name of our command is going to be. So for us, we're going to name it massemail.py so we can simulate sending a mass of emails using a management command. So inside of our massemail.py file, we start like everything else by doing imports. In our case, we're going to import base command because we were going to inherit from it. We're also adding the user model so we can get all of our users. Inside of this file, Django will look for a class called command, and it must inherit from base command. If this does not happen, then Django won't know it is a command and won't do anything with it. To start, we add a property called help. This is so if you call the command with --help attached, it tells you what the command even does. We follow that up with another Django convention having the handle method attached to our command class. This is actually the entry point for our command. We have args and options in our handle method. If we were to call the mass email command and pass a text on the command line, it would be stored in args, and options has specific data about our command. After we've defined all of these defaults and conventions, we're actually ready to do whatever we want. In our case, we're going to get all of the users, and then we're going to loop over them and print their email addresses out. Now if we run the manage.py file with nothing added on, we can see a list of all of our management commands that are available. And as you can see, ours is in there. If we call the mass email with help attached, we actually get our help message. And finally, if we run it normally, then it prints out all of our emails.